Good, good. Good morning, how are you? Good, good. I'm really grateful, Shannon, that I was invited. It is very humbling, and it's a great opportunity to put a face to a stigma, okay? Because that's what we deal with in our society is stigmas. I did just get married on Saturday to my husband, James. And I'm dressed like this because after I leave here, we are headed out to Montana for 12 days for our honeymoon. So don't mind me, I'm a little unconventional. So I'll just tell you a little bit about myself. I was raped December 5th, 1986 by Richard Gilmore. He was known as the jogger rapist. He was a serial rapist. I was the last victim. Sorry, you guys, I just have to like kind of move. Okay, there we go. So I was 13 years old. It was, I was in middle school, 7th grade. I had stayed after school for a wrestling championship thing because I had a crush on one of the boys that were wrestling. And my girlfriend's mom dropped me off at home. I go into my house, I lock my front door. My mom worked at First Interstate Branch in Clackamas, and she was a single mom, and so my duty was to start cleaning the house, doing my chores, because my girlfriend Tisha and I were going to go see a movie, get pizza, and have a sleepover. Well, I was listening to the music really, really loud, Depeche Mode, cleaning my house, dancing. I also was a dancer. I studied jazz and ballet when I was younger too. So I was dancing around the house, cleaning the house, and all of a sudden the music just completely turned off. Now my biggest fear was, oh my gosh, I blew the receiver and my mom is gonna kill me, right? So I go into the kitchen, I figure, okay, I'll dust when I go into the back room, that's where the stereo is, and that wasn't the case. Gilmore was standing there with a blanket held in front of him, and my life completely changed. I'm going to take you into kind of what that is like. First off, and I don't want you to be shy, this is a safe place, right? We're all people that are interested in this stuff. So I would like a show of hands as to who has been, or people that you know, like, has sexual assault or domestic violence affected you? Can you please raise your hands? Okay, see, I'm not alone. So, Gilmore attacked me. He kept telling me he was gonna kill me. He wrapped a blanket around my head. It was very surreal. My mind wasn't able, it wasn't fast enough to catch up with what was happening, okay? But I was a fighter. I punched him. That's how I knew that he had like a growth, you know, a little beard or whatever. But then at some point I just surrendered because I thought maybe I would die. So fast forward just a little bit. I do remember that after he left, I had to unlock my front door to get out. And I was naked. That's the reality of it. I was naked, I had a blanket wrapped around me, and I ran across the street to my brothers, Jim and Danny King, and I just was freaking out. And they were really good though, they were good guys. They were there for me. So, police come, it's intense, and when they took me to the emergency room, I did have an advocate there. And I'll tell you this, at this point, my parents were like, shaken. I was laughing because as when you go through something like that, you're in shock. And my mom and my dad are like, why is she laughing? And she's like, she's in shock. And I'll tell you what though, that advocate that was there, that one person, really calmed my heart. She calmed me, she let me know everything was gonna be okay. And so it was that one person for me that night that calmed my heart and made me feel like I wasn't dirty, if this was not my fault, and I was going to be taken care of very well. So Unfortunately, because of statute of limitations in 1986, the other victims that Gilmore had raped, he could not be charged on those crimes. So it was just on my attack that he was charged, and he did get 70 years maximum with a 30-year min, which means that at 30 years, then that's when he would start getting parole hearings and etc. Well, at the time, the parole board had the authority to override a judge's sentencing, and without my knowledge, they changed that 30-year to a 15-year min. 2 days, now this is really kind of a cool thing. I know it was a bad deal, but this was good. I was covered. 2 days before my rape, the Victims' Rights Bill had passed in the state of Oregon. And so with those rights, I was supposed to be notified for parole hearings. I was supposed to be notified when he was transferred, even from medical to wherever they go. I don't know. I don't know the prison system. I have been to jail, but I've not been to prison. So I'm just being real with you guys. Now we're going to fast way forward. Okay, obviously I'm a rape survivor. Now at that time at 13, I was a rape victim. Okay? Because that's all that they called us, was a victim. And PTSD, I didn't get any proper counseling for PTSD because that was just coming up the ranks for war veterans. So I'll tell you what, I was angry. I would beat up everybody. If you looked at me wrong, I was like, ugh. I wanted to beat you up. I got into drugs and alcohol really badly. I got kicked out of Gresham High School. I quit my dancing. My mom didn't know what to do. I didn't know what was wrong with me. And I ended up in treatment at 15. That was the first time I went to treatment. I've been to treatment 6 times. So, my life is crazy, okay? So anyways, fast forward in 2007, I was married, had children, little blondes, going surfing, everything's fine, I'm not drinking, I'm not doing drugs, things are good, right? And then I just started dreaming about Gilmore and having these thoughts all the time. And my mom, unbeknownst to me, she made about 12 phone calls, got to the parole board, and they said, "This is really odd, Miss Edens, that you're calling us today, because a week ago from today, parole board, Gilmore had a parole hearing and he's being released in 3 months." My mom said, you did not contact my daughter. So I embarked on a 3-year campaign in the state of Oregon. I sued the parole board, not for money, not for cash or anything like that, but for victims' rights. Because at that time, parole hearings were so geared for the inmates. I mean, I'll tell you okay, so we go to this hearing, and Gilmore talks for 4 hours, okay, about his tool belt, and he's done this, and everything's good. So it's my turn to speak, right? And I'm nervous. It's the first time I'd ever been in the room with him in 20 years with my rapist, you know what I'm saying? And this woman tells me, "You have 3 minutes." Excuse me? And so she says to me this, she goes, "Try to capsulize the last 23 years. And I said, "I'm not doing that. I'm gonna speak as long as I want." Okay? And so that's what we did. Gilmore is still in prison. Fast forward a little bit more, I got back into drugs and alcohol. I was a powerhouse victims advocate, but it took me under, okay? And so, but now I'm here today. I have 2 years and 9 months clean and sober. I'm married. I just got a job offer with Great Rivers Behavioral Health. I'm going to be a diversion peer counselor. Beverly. And so life is moving, and I love turning empathy into action, because sympathy means that you have pity on somebody, right? Nobody wants to be pitied. We want to be heard, and we want to feel like we matter, and we want to feel like we're a person, but we don't want to be pitied, okay? Empathy is where we understand. We have understanding and we can share a feeling with somebody, okay? Now, I'm not going to assume and I'm not going to act like I know all of your guys' departments and everything that you guys do, but I do know that you guys you touch people every day. You have a print on somebody. You're doing something for somebody, right? You're doing a service. So, domestic violence, I mean, that never was my story. I was probably usually the one that was doing the hitting, to tell you the truth. I'm just being transparent because I was angry, okay? So, but when you get that person, that man or woman or boy or girl, in your area, in your personal bubble, I think the best thing, and this is just my opinions, these are not, whatever, but I think eye contact, to pause and take a look at somebody in their eyes, and it's called solar seeding listening, where it's like a heart to heart. You put down your phone, you put down your pen, and you turn around and you face that person. Because right there they're gonna go, whoa, you care, right? So, and I think one of my biggest goals here today was that I wanted to empower each and every one of you, that each and every one of you can make a difference. Okay, now I used to use this metaphor this analogy when I was raped, like Gilmore raped me, but it was like dropping a rock in a pond, and it affected my friends, my family, my worker, my coworkers, my everybody, and then eventually it affected my son, because in 2007, my son was like, what happened to you? Okay, so it's a ripple effect, but guess what? We can do that in a positive way, okay? We can have that kind of a ripple effect when we look at somebody in the face and they say, you know what, this is what's happened. And you go, wow, you know what, I might not have experienced that, but I'm here to listen. And do the paraphrasing communication. This is what I hear you saying, and they'll tell you, no, that's not what I'm saying, but this is what I am saying. You know what I mean? We have to it's okay to ask questions. It's okay to do that. We can't have fear in our hearts when we're dealing with somebody that's hurting or has been affected really negatively, right? We can't carry on fear of like, what are they going to think of me? And am I doing it right? And am I doing it wrong? Let that go. Let that go. So what I would like to do now is, because I feel that if we can get involved in a conversation, then that's going to empower you, and you're going to have something, you're going to have, sorry, my brain just went dead. I slept 5 hours last night. You're going to have investment, you know what I'm saying? So I would like to invite, if anybody has any questions or comments for me, we can kind of solve this together. We can be a team effort. So I'm just going to open it up. Does anybody in this room have any questions for me? No questions? Okay. Oh, thank you.
How did you bring your son into understanding and counseling and that?
Okay. So when my children, I was in my second marriage in 2007. I was in my second marriage, and so I had my son, Kenji, and then 2 stepkids. And then this really high-profile case started coming out. And I'm just going to be real. So I had to explain to the kids that I was attacked at their grandma's house, and that I was hurt, and that it caused other problems for me, like drug addiction, and things like that. And it affected my 2 stepkids, but it affected my son really badly. And it makes me kind of want to cry right now, because I remember at that time he was probably 10, and he said, "Mom, if I would have been there, I would have protected you." And you know, and that was really hard. But what we did is I got a phone call from my stepmom. She worked at Kenji's elementary school, and you know, we were doing, you know, trials and getting new laws written, and we still didn't know if Gilmore was going to be let out or not. And so my son, he kind of had like a panic attack or something, and he was hiding under his desk because he was like, this man's going to come out and he's going to kill me, and he's going to kill my mom, and he's going to kill, you know. And so we put Kenji in, he started seeing a youth psychiatrist. And, you know, praise the Lord, now this is another thing too, is because I'm a high profile case, I get all the bells and whistles, okay? I get, you know, like this psychiatrist is part of this huge think tank at Portland with all these other therapists, and you know, they're like wizards of the, you know, they're the wizards, you know? And so my son got that benefit, okay? And so, you know, and I had tons of attorneys, and you know, I did some crazy stuff. I did an ad for Senator Gordon Smith, and I was a Democrat, you know, but I was like, and they would ask me, you know, when I would be interviewed, now, are you a political person? Well, I'll tell you what, I'm gonna go where I know that they're gonna make sure that that perpetrator stays in prison, you know? I have convictions, and so I'm just gonna stick to it. You guys can call me what you want, you know what I mean? And you know, today I sponsor 4 or 5 women in a 12-step program. And every single one of them has been affected by sexual assault, rape, exploitation, and domestic violence. And they don't get anything. They don't get justice. They don't get, oh, you're Tiffany Edens. You know what I'm saying? And so I want you guys to remember that, you know, that the people that you're probably dealing with are not getting what they really should be getting. You know, when I was raped, I was a virgin. You know, I was a dancer, and you know, and I was not so great of a student because I laughed all the time in class, so I would get in trouble that way, but I was a pretty good kid. You know, I was gonna be going to New York and dancing on my toes, you know, by the time I was 15, and because I was a good dancer, you know, I had dreams. And then that was completely robbed of me. My virginity, my life, my mind, my heart, my soul, just completely ripped away from me. And that's what you're dealing with, you know, but they don't have that. They don't get what they should be getting. And, you know, innately, I never took it on. I never thought, oh my gosh, I shouldn't have been dancing in my window. Ew. I am a firm believer. I don't care if you're walking down the street naked. If you say no, that means no, period. Okay? So I'm very passionate. I love to empower women. I love to empower men. I do have mentees that are male too. They always call me the big sister or mama or whatever. But because guess what? It affects men too. There are a lot of men out there that have been sexually abused as young boys. And I'm just gonna say it, this is my own opinion. I think that would be more difficult in our society because a man is supposed to be tough, don't cry, don't do this. Oh my gosh, that's disgusting. That is really hard on men in our society. And we need to remember that too, that it's not just women that this is happening to, it's men too. Young boys, young girls. So I hope that you guys get whatever it is that you're supposed to get out of this. I'm really glad to see so many people here that you know, want to turn empathy into action because it's really important. I'm grateful that I had the opportunity to come and speak with you. I'm sorry that I'm a little tired in my leathers, but you know, I have an adventurous life now. I have forgiven Gilmore. Took me 30-something years and, you know, some trips to jail and some drugs. But, you know, my path is my path, and each person's path is their path. But you can make a difference. Just try to just take your time, take a breath, and just listen. Thank you very much, you guys.